Yes. We can still chat. If I get your audio set up, we can do a test.
Anders, can you just help me? So I'm in the speaker settings.
No, not speakers, microphone.
Microphone, yeah, okay.
We're on.
Microphone settings.
Yes, and you have to do it on the Zoom's settings.
Same as system. I've got two. It says high definition audio device.
No.
Oh, fade background noise.
Yes.
Okay.
There you go.
Right, there you go. So put it on to low, and then it says faint background.
Yeah, we'll just keep testing it and see how it goes, Claire. Welcome. We're on.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start posting the links.
I generally mute anyway in between, just because I'm used to having, you know, my two run in and start asking stuff. So, or my mum and her shouting at the dog or the kids. Or...
Bless up, family life, isn't it good? Welcome everybody. I'm happy to say we're live, somewhat delayed. We were planning to come and see you yesterday, but due to unforeseen circumstances, I turning into Sleeping Beauty, we didn't manage to cast because I was sleeping, as is often the case these days. So I have Anders with me, Claire with me, and we have an open chat planned for you this evening. I'm just going to post the links, Anders and Claire, to the groups, and then we'll get the guests in and begin.
Yep. Thank you.
Welcome to you both, and thank you for joining. We're going to talk about home education maybe then, first of all, and see if any of the scribes have got the pleasure of home educating. We can see if we get some information on there. Other than that, we'll take questions, open questions. I'm just putting the links into Telegram now. I've done .com and Facebook. Happy days. It's very busy. There's lots to catch up with. There's a lot of chirp going off in all areas. Claire, let's test your mic. Let's test them settings.
Okay. Yeah. I'll move back from the monitor a little bit.
That sounds all right, yeah. Sounds like
they're not chirping at the minute, though.
All right, we'll still find out.
They're munching and throwing seed at me and feathers down on the laptop.
What birds what types have we got there?
Lovebirds.
Okay.
And they're like proper mating lovebirds. So Graham yesterday got rid of five chicks. Well, they're not chicks anymore. They're, how old are they?
6 months.
6 months old, 5 of them, and then there's another 2 in another cage that's their babies too. So they're proper little family lovebirds that make babies.
I found something interesting out on my research not too long ago regarding, you know, there's this symbology of releasing the dove at various events. I believe Christopher Columbus took a dove with him on his voyages to discover, or what would we say it, to colonize America. It was initially labeled as a discovery, but it was already there and inhabited, so it wasn't so much a discovery. It's not a laughing matter either, to be fair, if you get into the historical facts of it all. But the dove, named Columbus, Christopher, the captain Christopher Columbus, the dove, and the dove being released at various events, marriages, ceremonies, political events. Surely most of you will have seen the dove at some point being released somewhere across your viewership of events. And so the dove actually, in some instances, if not most, like say for weddings, would symbolize the Holy Spirit. What? Bit of chirp for you on tube about birds. Let's keep it real.
Not just us ladies.
Quite nice, actually. it's different. It's not annoying anyway, not to me. We've got Lisa, Trevor, Mia, Tony, and Simon and Philip in the house. What? Thank you for joining. We've got an open chirp, literally. I didn't know Sister Claire would be with birds. That wasn't an intended pun, but the Sunday sessions are on. Welcome and thank you. Hello to all in the chat room. Mia, you should be blue. This is because some of you are new scribes to splspro channel, the backup channel. I posted a video Saturday morning regarding Chris Whitty. Shared a video and Indi received an airstrike, another badge of honour received for Indi Glow for speaking up and questioning authority by sharing a video that was shared on public media in our Telegram channel. I've put a copy of it on SPL's Facebook, and the YouTube moderators seem to dislike it, so I've had a second strike. I need to start being good and stop questioning authority. I need to obey at some point, I suppose, or Indi does, the channel, but it's an occupational hazard. I yield. It was a funny video, though. It was worth sharing. I don't know if any of you managed to see it. I think you both saw it on the Telegram chat, didn't you? Some random guy. I don't know who it was. That's why I say random. Accosting Christopher about certain measures, and he calls upon the police to help him, and the video then cuts off. It's only 3 minutes long. Unelected authority, yes, Tony. Self-appointed authoritarians. Teachers we was on about, but we'll get on to that later. Yeah, I don't seem to be able to add you as a moderator. I think the blue mans are blue mans from Indi Glow, because it says I can report you, remove you, put you in timeout, or hide you. So forgive me for not making you blue, anybody. I don't have the remit yet. Welcome to the new supporters, scribes, aka subscribers. I'll take some questions from you, comments. We should have a mixture of public Telegram, private Telegram, SPLs and Facebook fam joining us if they've picked up the notification. Let me just change the view. So yeah, over to you two. Anything you want to chirp on about? Anders is chilling. Claire, have you got anything poignant to say? Political comments?
Ooh, political. I'm just actually bringing up, I'm on the .com, and I'm just trying to bring up Section 38 of the Education Act for...
You can't say the name because we're public.
No, I wasn't going to say that, for someone that's inquiring. And just because I've not heard
it's a new one.
Thing. And then I will have a
The question for the benefit of those in the chat room and those that don't have access to the private domain. The question is, hi all, does anyone have any ideas how I respond to a notice under section 483 of the Educational Act 1996? They want to serve a school attendance order on 2 of my offspring. I received a notice a couple of weeks ago stating that the local authority was aware that my 2 girls were not registered. Now, when he says that, or they say that, she says that, I believe they are on about birth certificate registration. It may well be educational registration, but I'm inclined to think it would be registered as in general registry office registration, birth. So their 2 girls were not registered, and they need to show proof that they were receiving efficient full-time education. They have a reply stating that they received education otherwise than school. They also asked what proof did they require, and they replied to the one that's asked this question with the section 438. Anyone know a good place to research? Many thanks in advance. So at the top, they've said it's a notice under section 483 of the Education Act 1996. And later on, they've then said section 438. So there's a difference of an 83 and a 38, Claire. I've posted some links down below of the Education Act 96. And then I've actually asked them to confirm. We can look up both 38 and 83, 483, 438. And then they've confirmed, they've replied 2 hours ago. It's 438, Claire, that they're on about. They are not registered for education. So I've answered that question too. I've said, can you clarify when you say education? Is it birth certificate or registered for education? So they've confirmed 438, they are not registered for education. And they do have a grandson that was not registered at birth at 4 years old. So your comment there, Claire, thank you for that.
Yep, I'm just on it now. So I'll read it out. So it starts actually when you put it in. It's school admissions. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, carry on, yeah.
School admissions, attendance and charges. So it's about school attendance, and it's school attendance orders. Section 437 is what it starts with. If it appears to F1 local authority that a child of compulsory school age in their area is not receiving suitable education, either by regular attendance at school or otherwise, they shall serve a notice in writing on the parent requiring him to satisfy them, you and yours, within the period specified in the notice that the child is receiving such education. That period shall not be less than 15 days. A parent on whom a notice has been served under section 1 fails to satisfy the local authority within the period specified in the notice that the child is receiving suitable education, and in the opinion of the authority, it is expedient that the child should attend school, the authority shall serve on the parent an order referred to in this act as a school attendance order, in such form as may be prescribed, requiring him to cause the child to become a registered pupil at a school named in the order. School attendance order shall, subject to any immediate amendment made by the local authority, continue in force for so long as the child is of compulsory school age, unless it is revoked by the authority or a direction is made in respect of it under section 42. Again, I'm not even going to read that because it's irrelevant and it's not needed, because actually that's an act, and the law states that it's our responsibility as mums and dads to provide a full-time education, but it doesn't stipulate where that has to be. So I home educate. And I did put mine into school to begin with, and then I had to deregister them. So all I did, and there's lots of groups on Facebook and home ed groups that you can get templates and stuff for. Maybe we'll get some and we can pop it in the .com at some point. A letter that just states that you are taking full responsibility for the education of your children yourself as per the law, and that's all you need to do. You can, depending on how much you want, involvement or support, you can work with the local home ed authority, the local authority. You don't have to. It's not law. You can refuse. I played ball, and I spoke to the lady, and I was prepared to let her come and have a look at what we do, only because it didn't seem a problem to be transparent and open about how I was educating Max and Ellie. I think that some home ed mums don't want any of that involvement, or mums and dads don't want that involvement. They want to be completely off grid and don't feel that they need it. With the current climate, that can sometimes be worse, because you do end up then getting more harassment, because they've put anybody that holds a firm boundary and says no, which is actually healthy, they viewed that as belligerent and difficult and obstructive and cause for concern. So that's a choice you each have to make. But all you have to do if you've got children in school is deregister them, and just say that you're taking responsibility for the education yourself. Now, with regards to the type of education that you provide, again, this isn't stipulated. It has to be the equivalent of full time, and that is, I think, 25 to 30 hours worth. Now, you have to bear in mind that everything is learning for young people, and it doesn't have to be school at home. We're unschoolers in our house, so we go with what mine are interested in. So my son really wants to be a chef, so he cooks. At the moment, Ellie's just chosen her project and she wants to do video editing. My son is 13, so he's the one who wants to be a chef, and my daughter's 9, so she wants to learn video editing. But for the last 9 months to a year, well, they actually say you give them a month minimum off if they've been in the school system to de-school. So they don't do any official schooling at all. So because of COVID and everything else and schools being closed, we've basically had a year off and we've just chilled and, you know, had some really nice relaxing times. We'd had some family difficulties and some bereavements and stuff before I started homeschooling them. So it was also a transition period for us, time for us all to just, you know, shrug off some things and for them to feel comfortable in themselves again. It was really needed. And they've grown massively. They're much calmer in themselves. It's been really nice. But if you want to be more structured and have school at home, you can print the national curriculum off and then follow that. When I first homeschooled Max when he was 7, so I did it for about 8 months then, to help support him over some bullying and difficulties that he'd had. So I printed the curriculum off then and kind of tailored what I taught him linked to that. And there's lots of books and things you can buy. There's lots of resources. There's Twinkle, which a lot of the teachers use. So you can get, you know, printouts and worksheets and lesson plans. There's lots of there's Teachers Pay Teachers. There's another one. Again, I'll get some links if you like, and you can pop it in. That's a good resource. Again, for printouts and activity sheets. But just remember that, and also that's structured, and then there's semi-structured, so you can do a mix of both. So you can do a mix of formal. So for Max, for instance, he's considering now that he's 14, he can go to an adult ed facility and start doing his GCSEs. So he might do that in September, we might just wait. I think the big thing to remember is what we think about schooling isn't actually what education is. And you know, school forgets emotional literacy and health and playing. Children learn best through play. That is exploring, getting things wrong, making mistakes, learning from them, falling out of trees. You know, how we used to, probably more in our day. Things have changed quite a bit, and I think it's important that we remember that. And just seeing the difference in my two since they've been out of it. They're just themselves. They're not pushed or pulled any way to conform or to fit into anything, so they're just calm and at ease, and it's just so lovely to watch. So yeah, so that's a 3 styles. So you've got fully structured, you've got semi-structured, and you've got unschooling, which is generally classed as more radical. But there's lots of resources out there. Again, if anybody wants any, you know, advice on any of this, let me know. I'll happily share it. So resources, how to do it. Yeah, I think that's it. Are there any questions in the?
Yeah, I was going to ask them. Yeah, we'll look at the chat room in a minute. I've asked them if anybody is home educating, and we're getting a lot, the trust, SPLs, Telegram. We're getting it via various avenues. Concerns from mums and dads regarding mandatory, what's happening, mask wearing. You know, we'll say there's a lot of concern for various reasons. So if we can, if we're on about the private, we look at private remedy and we're self-governing, self-managing, self-interested. We are not selfless, but we are looking at our retainment, reservation, you know, assertment of rights. So whilst we're doing that in financial and legal aspects, the one true currency of man is trust, and our one true resource is our blood, appropriations and offspring. So if there is a concern whilst the academies and trusts are looking after the little ones, and we're obligated to try and help spread some information. So like I said about you, you've got a lot of transferable skills, and kind of a little angel, a godsend in a way for many and various areas that we were weaker in. So I was going to ask, is there a mandatory curriculum? Like you'd imagine English, maths are going to be two, but there is no stipulate if you take them out of, take the assets out of school and you home educate, as long as they're receiving so many hours, there isn't a set curriculum that you must adhere to. You've just said structured and so forth. I won't repeat what you've said. It's on the video. So thank you for that. And that's great to know. We would like to look at private.
Again, it's all in the word,
education.
isn't it? It's education. So what is that? You know, you can't define that, but you can't say that, you know, you've got to do this. Most parents probably do. Still, you know, mums and dads probably do the main GCSEs. But you think how much pressure's put on our adolescents now to cram in, what, 13 exams by the time they're 16? It's just too much with everything else that they've got going on. You know, it's just tightening them, that anxiety and everything in them. I think for Max, he's really good at science, maths. English isn't his good one. He doesn't like English. He loves maths.
So you could have a chance to ask them, what are you interested in?
Yeah,
Look
what do
they're
you do?
good at. What would you like to do when
Yeah.
you get out? It doesn't necessarily mean succumb and submit and get a job. We're not going.
No, not at all.
Ask them what they wanted to do. We could start private if we are. Sorry.
Some of the key figures have been home-edited.
Yeah, that's it. Like some of the presidents and prime ministers and multi-billionaire business tycoons have made a point saying
Einstein.
Tesla, Microsoft, prime ministers, presidents say school. Mark Twain never let school interfere with your education, as he's quoted saying. I wasn't alive, you know, I don't know for definite, but he's quoted saying, I've got a picture of Tesla and Twain somewhere in the archives, and that statement underneath, while there's Twain and Tesla messing around with Tesla towers. So let me get back to the point. And so we are private, and we are not legal. We're lawful, and that's LORE, lawful, and we operate in a legal capacity with lawful remedy, and we are now separating everything. So with regards to the current mandated policy that's coming through the public, we'll look to enhance this area for those that are with us now and those that may want to stick with us or join us. We'd like to look for options and talk about what you do, what could be done, and why we would do it. Have we got faith in the education system? Gavin Williams, is it, and his debacle of last year, and I don't think he could pass any of these examinations and tests with regards to the current curriculum. Also managing government policy, we have rights, so the rights are there for us, and if we choose to ignore them, then so be it. If you think the academic trust public route would be better, then we don't judge you. But what we're coming to learn is that what you don't use, you lose. And if we don't use these rights, and others are coming to us with complicated questions of which we haven't got all of the answers for, so we'd like to explore with you, Claire, anybody else that's on the chat, and we'd like to pool our resources. Some years ago, we did mention we'd like to sort out something, another trust called splspro Junior, SPL's Junior Procreations, and we could look at pooling our resources and perhaps managing things a bit better. The only area you see with home education I can see a problem is if, say, like a single parent family, and there's quite a lot of them, I imagine, and then the procreation little one doesn't get to mix Monday to Friday, 9 till 5 or whatever it is, 8 till 3, whatever your hours are going to be. They don't have to be regimental and militant as what the school is. They can be laid back and informal, and at times to suit. But then the mixture with regards to social exposure needs to be, we could get together and we could utilize where some mums and dads wouldn't have areas and key areas. Monday you could go to John and Steve's, Wednesday you could go to Claire and Anders, Tuesday you could go to Claire and Anders, Wednesday we could have a circle of education. We could make sure that we put them in groups, and so they socialize, and the options are there for consideration. We could do it in local geographic areas. We could set Telegram groups up within our trust Telegram groups for Southern, Midlands, Welsh, Northern, Scottish, Ireland, all over. We're all digital now, so there are no limitations to the possibilities. So it's another area to expand on later. I always run ahead with ideas and think, on the bigger side of it, because we're a big family, we're a big landmass. There's millions of us here. So
Can I come in with something?
how dare you? Very rude. No, put your hand. Yeah, of course you can, brother.
Now I really feel sorry for you there in Britain with a homeschooling problem. I want to say here in Sweden, we don't have those problems because here homeschooling is illegal.
Say that. I was reading the chat room. Please repeat, Anders. What's illegal? Sorry. Again.
Homeschooling, it's illegal here in Sweden.
No way.
Legal, lawful, two different jurisdictions.
Yeah, but it's illegal by the governments. Being there is a law that everybody has to go to state school. There is no exemptions.
Oh.
Yeah, they're trying to do that in France as well, I heard recently. I imagine it'll possibly, they'll try and do it here as well.
They actually,
I suppose we're lucky because we've got common law, we have got the different jurisdictions, and since they've gone and done what they've done with the UK thingy,
yeah.
I suppose we've got a bit more of, an ability to move things. I suppose you're just one jurisdiction maybe.
What they are doing here is that they are taking away the children from the parents if they don't school them. So that's the, you think Sweden is so nice and perfect and everything. No way, Jose. It's a sneaking snake running around here.
I just want to say as well, with regards to timings, it's for those people that are considering home editing, but they're worried because they both work, or mum might do it and she works part-time and dad's out all the time. It isn't, as much as they say it's full-time, it isn't 9 till 3, and you imagine it isn't what they do in 6 hours in a classroom. You could probably do the whole of that if you were fully structured in about 2.5 hours, because you think they get in at 9:45, putting their bags and coats away, and they're all sitting down and calming them down, doing the register, the attendance to see who's in. Then they're starting the first topic, then they stop for a morning break, then they've got to calm them down again, and so it's lots of stop, start. So and then they've got to stop in between what they're teaching to calm shop. This is for primary, I'm thinking more, quieting the back down, answering questions. So when you're one-to-one teaching something, it doesn't take as long. There was something else I was going to say as well, but it's gone for the moment. Are there any questions on anyone?
I'm going to read the chat room and catch up with that and see the comments. And Brother Simon's come in to join us as well. Good evening, Simon. Thank you. Welcome.
Hi, Simon.
Just let him get set up. See what his wife.
Hello, Simon.
The dove from above. Yes, Tony, that will be in commentary to the dove being representative of the Holy Spirit. And my comment at the beginning then is put the dove from above. I'm now seeing Vic and Bob. Coo! Release the dove. Yes, Christopher Columbus. Columbus was the dove's name apparently, and doves being ceremonial there. I've gone too far up. Let me just scroll down. All right. See what you can see, Claire and Anders, if there's anything relevant to the topic we're on.
Where am I looking? Because I'm just in Zoom.
YouTube.
Am I looking on YouTube?
On SPL's. Have you got the link?
I will just say as well, Einstein. Okay, it's a quote from Einstein, who was a home eder.
One stone.
He was homeschooled. Yes, yeah. Everybody is a genius, not the demon type, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. And that's that's around the home ed community a lot, because it's school is good for some children. Some children really do love that and thrive being in that environment. Some really don't. My two probably really don't, because they question, because they've got quite switched on minds, and that doesn't always work well, you know, with some teachers and with the system, if you question too much or notice discrepancies, you know, you've got to follow it to pass the test. And so, and just it being overwhelming and stuff, they're definitely, you know, quieter, more introverted. But with the socializing, you know, that's a myth as well, because, you know, you take your young shopping, you've got family and friends, you know, there's clubs, you know, scouts and guides and swimming clubs, you know, there's still things that home edders do, and actually we do probably more activities outside. We haven't yet as a family. Well, we've been in lockdown for a year, so but you know, a lot of families, and then there's tutors as well. I've got a friend who's an English tutor, so last summer she did a creative writing course that Ellie took part in, and it was with other children of her own age on Zoom. So that's always really useful as well, when you can, you know. And when you've got local home ed groups, what they often do is a load of them will chip in, and then they'll get a tutor. So if it's something like science, they'll all chip in and pay for the time of the science teacher, and then they'll split it between all the families. So for those subjects that you can't necessarily do the same at home, well, unless you've got, you know, full-on fonts and burners and labs and stuff at your availability. I'm just going to go into.
But there must be loads of retired school teachers that have much better education too, that would love to help, you know.
And it's also, I mean, it was really difficult actually being a home school mum before lockdown, where, you know, people don't think that homeschooling is really a thing, and there's all these myths that, oh, the children are unruly, oh, they can't socialise, oh, yeah, they're never going to get exams, they're never going to make anything, and it's all, you know, yeah, of course in some cases, but it's no different than if you're in the school system. I went through the full school system and didn't get any GCSEs. Really struggled, hated school, had undiagnosed ADHD. It wasn't until I was 31 that I went back and got a first class honours degree. I didn't know I could do any of that at school because the system completely failed me. But when I was old enough and I realised I could, I did, and I excelled. And that's what, you know, they don't instill in you in school because you're set to a specific model. But my brain doesn't work like that. My brain's quite different. So it's remembering that, so then they don't have to have that same fear that if they don't do it by 18, it's not the end of the world, because there's loads that are in the system that will still maybe have to go back and do a GCSE retake or something. It's not the end of the world, and I think that's, of course, it's nicer if they can, but it doesn't have to be. And having that switch, once you haven't got that pressure, it's oh. Jama Funk, the Trivium. Yes, classical education. That's something I've got on my home ed plan that I wrote today.
There are more things, Horatio, under the stars, under the heavens, than there are in your. That comes to mind. Don't think,
Claire.
feel. Like what I said to Anders
Lisa,
earlier about the
Anne,
scooter.
Jerry. Right, let's.
Don't think, feel. Yes, let them feel their way through it and tell us and work together, and we might have a better, stronger society if we could concentrate and you know, work comparably to, or even beat. You know, it'd be nice to see after a few years what the results were with regards to, you know, yes, actually, you know, like the ones that are disruptive in school. We could do many things other than educate. You see, it's not just about the syllabus and the curriculum. There's like development factors. You know, the ones that are on the autistic spectrum, I would like to help. The ones that are questioning authority, the ones that feel that, you know, I was always in trouble at school. I was stood out in the hallway. The headmaster would walk past and go, "You again." I won't say what my mum's maiden name or married name was at the time there. It was different to Jeremita and Hanlon. And he used to know me by that and call me by that. It was, you know, and he was quite a domineering man. And I don't know why I was always in trouble, but so I'd like to work with ones that are on. No, I'm not saying it's a real thing. The spectrum and ADHD and autism in itself. There are things that make us different, but I'm not saying they are disabilities or afflictions as such. I think they're an endearing quality. The ones we all hear on this chat and they're on the replay and in our private foundation educational trust in the Telegram, even to some extent on Facebook, are all authority questioners. We knew it from a young age. Like when I've been in management and I've been training manual handling, lifting techniques, and I show a video, or the company gets me to show a video as well to accompany the paperwork. And the beauty of youth is that 5-year-olds to 7-year-olds, generally even younger, if you give them a box to pick up, they will walk up to the box and they bend their legs and they put their feet apart at shoulder width and they go to pick up the box and they do it all correctly. They've never seen health and safety act, legislation, manual handling. They're not even in commerce, but if you give them a box on the floor and tell them to pick it up, that's what I'm saying. We're born awake, conscious, loving, intelligent, clever. We love animals. We give a rat's ass about things. We care about one another. We share, things as a circle of friends. Somebody doesn't have any sweets at playtime, we would all share our sweets to that somebody would have some, and then the bully comes along and takes them away. There's many variables in amongst the options other than just the actual maths, science, history curriculum itself. We could look at why we have these special ones like that already in the societies, and they're the ones that generally get neglected, labeled a misfit, have an axe to grind, a grudge to bear, and generally are labeled by the establishment, the educational system, like I was to some extent, and many in the chat room and many that are in our circles, unruly, troublesome. Then what happens is the teachers put reports in and try to get the mum or the dad or the family looked at. Social services start sniffing around, try to put in care orders. Next thing you know, families are broken up. It's just absolutely ludicrous what this legal establishment is in, and we're supposed to be the beneficiaries of these trusts that have had these positions changed. So I think this topic to start off with was a great start, and I think for many, as I've brought out there, how we go through that progression of the system, the educational system, teachers, the curriculum, ministerial effects, squashing our vitality, squashing our desire, squashing our heart. We're not allowed to be creative. We have to shut the duck up. We have to look forward. We have to do what the major pain, the military commander as such instructs. We used to get the ruler at school. We weren't the cane as such, but we'd get on the hands, we'd get told off, and there was actual corporal punishment there that's not there now. You get detention. Detention is a military terminology. So they're not on the whole beneficial, as they've got a bit better in ways of corporal punishment has been banned and that, but they have sanctions and detentions, and they get third-party officious intermeddlers to come in and break down the family for not always, mostly not always. Sometimes I'd warrant there is a requirement there, but it's just insane what we've allowed happen compared to what we could have and what our rights say we're allowed to use and utilize. So I'll shut up. I've said enough. Welcome, Simon.
The other thing as well, though, is to consider is school's very logic, left brain, and it as year and year has gone on, it's less creative right brain, and we need both to be higher consciousness beings. We can't be in more than one than the other. We need to have that balance. Left brain dominant is too logic, and it loses that empathy, that feeling, that creative, nurturing aspect of self. So, and I think, again, that's deliberate. And like you say, schooling is the start. It's where it all starts, where we get taught all of this. Now we're at the other end, having to go backwards. So we need to start with with our younger ones. So, because, we're just like programmable computers, aren't we? We're like sponges. I'm just reading here. Jamer Funk. Yes. The classical 7, trivium and quadrivium. I listened to a great, I don't know who it was on. I think it was Mark Passive, but it wasn't him. He had somebody on who talked about this. It's really, really interesting, but made me really sad because the trivium is logic, rhetoric, and grammar, and then the quadrivium quadrivium had maths in it, and I'm no good at maths. So I was like, oh no, I can't do math. I can't do math. That's like, I'm not fully dyspraxic, or whatever they call it, the math dyscalculia thing, but it doesn't compute. I can't see it. I can get a sense of balances, but I can't put the threads together. My ADHD, my brain just doesn't do it. So, but the quadrivium, it's got music, geometry, maths, and what was the fourth? Gemma Funk, put the fourth in for me. My brain's gone blank. If you're still there.
I've just answered back to there's some comments there. Child, we're at ease. I've put all my comments, read the chat room, and you'll see we are at ease, and do not convert it to legalese. But you are quite true with what you're saying there regarding terminology. Yes,
Yeah. Yeah, hello everyone. Let's say hello to me. No, yeah, I'm just reading Tony's comment there. You didn't do well at school. Teachers didn't show you any respect. I would imagine that for those of us that didn't necessarily either fit or do well because of how teachers were, there would have been one or two or three teachers where we excelled because those teachers were nice, decent people that got it. They didn't follow the narrative. They got you. They spoke to you on a level. They didn't patronise you. They didn't look down at you. They didn't tell you off. They just told it as it was. And in those classes, for me personally, I excelled because I felt safe and held with those teachers. Any of the other teachers, because of having difficulties at home, any of the teachers were too aggressive, nasty, shouty, too boundaried, then I wouldn't feel safe. I can remember being 5 and at primary school, and our reading books were outside the front of the classroom in the corridor in little baskets. We were told to go and get a thing. The teacher had gone off somewhere. I really needed to go to the toilet, and you had to ask permission, didn't you, to go to the toilet? And he wasn't there, and I would have.
you still do, yeah. You put your
Had
hand
an
up.
accident on the floor. So I took myself to the toilet, and he came down, barging in the toilet, shouting, "Where are you? Where are you?" and put me in front of the whole classroom and told me off in front of everybody. I'm like 5, crying, humiliated. I can remember my first year of high school, secondary school. We were a family on benefits. I don't know what had happened, but I ended up going to school in a primary school shirt, which was blue and not white. Again, teachers stood me up in front of the whole class. This is like one of my first weeks in school. We don't wear blue shirts, part of our uniform, do we, Claire? And in front of the whole class. Of course, it's just, yeah, the humiliation and shame and nastiness is just awful, appalling. You wouldn't, you know what I mean? You don't do that to your babies. These are our babies. Why would you do that?
Yeah, we're at a turning point now where everybody, a lot of us, quite a lot of the world are questioning the alleged authority, the alleged truth. We've lost, the trust has been broken. We've proven that a lot of the times. Claire, you've muted, by the way. Your mic's gone, Claire. Are you still here?
That is really good. So
yeah, I'm still here.
All right,
The birds were just starting to chirp. So
we recognise, all of us, a lot of us now, that we can't trust and we can't take for credit what's being said. There's conflicting information, there's U-turns, there's scandals, there's billionaire tycoons advising governments, the interest, the NHS data we're going to get onto. Don't worry, that's the next topic of conversation with regards to data, NHS and certain things, but with regards to importance and priority, our young bloods, procreations, assets, aka children, are the reason that we're doing this first, and I believe they're the ones that are the most at risk now. I don't know how many young ones have been hospitalized by this alleged liarous and scandemic, but I'm willing to bet it's not many. I bet the numbers are very low, and I don't believe they need to be inoculated. My own opinion, you know, I've got to be careful or this channel will be getting a strike. It's my belief the health ministers and secretaries and etc. have been caught in scandals. Matt Hancock's been in the news more than enough with regards to you know, certain things. Boris has been in the news a little bit, receiving texts from Dyson, you know. So Hancock, WhatsApp contracts, it's all true, it's all real, it's all been reported, unconscionable action. So why would we now trust them? Furthermore, The Prime Minister leaving his daughter in a pub at one point, you know. So it's how far you want to let it go, how far we'd let it run, and what risks we are willing to take, and why we would take those risks. Should we take those risks? Do we have confidence? Have you got the trust there with them? Do you think we could do? My mum always used to say, or my grandma, as it may even have been, I think it was my grandma, you want out doing right, do it yourself. She'd give me a scotch. My granddad used to say, give a boy a man's job, you know. So I'll leave it there and let you all comment. Or not. Simon's back, is he? Simon, can you say hello? You want to introduce yourself? Are we on?
Yeah, I want to hear what Simon has to say too. That's always interesting.
Simon says, turn your fecking mic on.
Well, Simon's Irish. Are you Irish, Simon, really? Are you from the States or are you up from the North?
To be sure. You fecking idiot.
To be sure.
Fecking idiot.
My dad was from the North. He
Yes,
was from
put a
Bangor,
message.
12 miles from Belfast.
All right, was he?
I much prefer the Southern Irish accent, though. No offence to any Northerners out there.
Republican.
It's just a bit. Well, it's only because my dad was, you know, from the North and not a brilliantly nice man, so he had a very harsh. Well, actually, his accent wasn't too bad because he classed himself as British. He wasn't Irish. He was one of these, you know, distant patriots of the land over here. Now looking back, it's like, why? Okay, anyway. We won't go there, will we? Not tonight. You did say about politics, but not.
You all right, David?
There he is. Come on, lad. Nice one. Big love to you. Much love. Yeah, I'm reading your comment then. I was just going to read what you'd said, but yeah, carry on. You can say hello. Come on, brother. Thank you. We're good.
All right, Claire. All right, Anders.
Hi, Simon. Oh, it rings. It sings. It's beautiful. Sorry, Simon. Lovely accent.
Yeah, I've been just listening to your conversation. You know, it's an interesting topic. You know, I have two sisters in Ireland, teachers at the moment. You know, but they've just started teaching the last couple of years. But I think the education system in the UK and Ireland, you know, is falling short. Is falling short, really. You know, for a lot of people. You know, my experience in school wasn't great myself, you know, when I was young, but I don't think it's the same for most people. I think most people have a good experience in school, you know, but it's all down to the teachers and how much time they put into you, you know. If you're seeming like you're a problem or you have problems, you'll fall through the net, which is part of the system as well. They need that, you know. There's someone at the top going, I need a few thousand this year to fall through the net, because it gives the police something to do. It fills up the prison. It gives social services a job, you know. It keeps the system, it keeps the wheels turning, you know. There'd be a lot of people without work if you didn't have all these kids that fell through the net all the time, you know.
Yeah, that's true, Simon. I was in the same, going through the same situation. I was growing up and I was stuttering a lot when I was a kid, but I was quite funny, I think, you know, because I wasn't bullied like that. It was when I come up to high school, when the hormones was coming into all the boys there. And then I was always going to a special teacher. So I have to say I was getting the best attention ever because I was the only student for that teacher. So that was good. And with the bullying, yeah, it was not that big problem. It happened sometimes they was pushing me in to the toilet, but I was always the one leaving the toilet. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Well, my own experience is I went to a school, say 2 or 3 miles outside the town I came from. You know, my family would have been well known, but this school in particular, it had this head teacher. His father had been previously head teacher at the school. You know, and the minute I was there, even when I was young, he just took a disliking to me. So I was never bullied, say, really by other children. I was bullied by this teacher in particular, you know, and definitely targeted by him, you know, always sort of left out of things. So I did start getting into trouble, sort of. Well, not that you could justify his behavior, like, you know, meaning like I was in primary school in 1997, I left primary school. But they only brought in an act in 1998 in Ireland to stop teachers, say, from assaulting children, you know. But this fella was a vicious fella anyway, you know, he targeted me. Even when I was in school, he used to say things like, oh, we know where you'd be heading, you know, as if you'd be heading to prison and various things, you know. And he was connected to local police and local guards, so it sort of did come true, you know. Because when I was 15, I actually ended up in a young person's detention center, you know. So it did actually come true, you know, but
Yeah, bless you.
but it was tough, you know. The place is actually quite closed down now, but they do target people. So if you fall through the net, you will be targeted by police and by social services, you know.
What's known as easy pickings, isn't it? The families, that's what we're on about. They're not necessarily in any way criminal or anything like that. Back in my day, I dare say for all of us on this chat and in the room, you know, we'll say these dispositions or less abled issues that we have with regards to ourselves, you know, and family domestic violence wasn't recognised so much in the 80s, early 80s. It's not up until mid 80s, early 90s, it started to get serious. And then with regards to us being questioning authority in our own way, if you come from a unstable single parent family that was a victim of domestic violence, then we've all, like I say, got our own 8 Mile story there. It's not just me, Simon, Claire, Anders, whoever. We're all got similar commonalities. There's more that joins us than there is that separates us. And those families and them statistics and mums and procreations are just looked at as easy targets when they would be more beneficial to put that same resources in that they put in for prosecution and legal management, guardianship, social workers, all of the millions of pounds that they put in to prosecute and have court cases and family courts. And, you know, even there was a thing called Borstall's, was there not? The film Scum and all of that. It was absolutely horrendous. Jimmy Savile's running the show. You know, they've got no clean hands anywhere, these mother truckers. I'm going to yield, but you get my point, fam, and thank you for sharing, Simon.
Yeah, well, David, you know me. I don't actually know that I ever tell you that before. Did you know that? You know, so I did when I was about 15. I ended up in equivalent to a Borstal. The place is shut down now because even when they were putting people there, this is only in the early 2000s. You know, it was against all human rights. It was against the protection of children. You know. The place was like, it was an adult's prison for children, you know. So I was put in with 16 to 21-year-olds, but it was the worst. Like, I came from a good sort of family. I only got in bits of trouble, and I came from a quiet enough place. But when I went into there was more drugs than you would ever believe, you know. And actually the like pornographic images all over cells. And they had 16-year-olds with 21-year-olds, so you could imagine. And it had the reputation as the worst prison in Europe, even for adults, you know. But they shut it down in 2013. But I'm taking action at the minute against them, you know. It's been going on a long time, but I will succeed at it, you know.
Yeah,
Do
thank
it.
you haven't shared that with us and me, the fam, the trust, the public ever. No, that's news to me. But thank you for sharing. And like I say, we've got a lot in common, many of us. That's why we magnetize to one another. That's why we gel. We get on like a house on fire. Like we've known each other for quite a long time. We get on the phone for the first time and we chat for 2 hours on a hello chat. So others, you know, that have known each other a long time struggle for words. It's all false. They talk about football and crap, and
Well, lots of
really
people that know me, like, well, I know you years, as I said, but lots of people that know me and I've helped are, you know, shocked when I tell them that, you know, they would never suspect it. You know, the stuff, as I said, I've went through, and that's why I haven't been around, say, the last few months and either. I've been dealing with it. All this stuff has come up because that teacher in question, as I said, it's only recently, like 4 years ago, I knew he was still teaching. And I was thinking, how is that fella still teaching? Like, he's abusive, you know? And it was only because of my own sisters getting qualified as teachers, I thought, I'll just leave it, you know? But it had an awful effect, you know? But I know the system works between teachers and principals in certain schools, link up with the police, and they put a target on kids. They even target families. And like, that's not what they're there to do, you know, but they know there's some fella at the top taunting the numbers thinking, oh, this is what we need. Instead of trying to help these people, you know, they make things
nurturing
worse.
children that need it, you know, young people that need safety and healthy boundaries. And it's all about safety, isn't it, at the end of the day? You feel safe and held. You wouldn't have any of that. It's shocking what they do in schools. My son, when I first took him out when he was 7, he'd had bullying with some peers and then one of their older brothers who'd been a bit physical. But the final straw was his teacher. He was 7 at the time and almost a year younger than all of them. And she told him that his work was atrocious and that I wouldn't want to homeschool him. I mean, it's like, why are you saying stuff like that to a 7-year-old? It's appalling. I really think, seriously, teachers should have psychotherapy training before they go into teaching. They should understand themselves and psychology, and before they even get let loose on anybody, any of our youngsters. Shocking.
Young stars. That's another
I hope
terminology
you
I
do win,
like.
Simon. You will. You have to win that. That's so sad to hear, and so glad that you're here fighting it now. Right.
Oh, yeah, as I said, lots of people, as I said, it was even hard for me. As I said, I'm used to helping people for years and I've studied for I'm 37 now, so I've been studying like for about 18 years. But I really suffer with this, you know. My own life hasn't moved on since I'm 16 or 17, apart from what I do helping people, you know. It's just horrific, you know. That's what my advice to everyone would be, like, keep your kids safe, know where they are at all times, you know, because there's an awful lot of weird people out there around there, you know.
Yeah, true. It's a credit to us all. We don't often appreciate what we've got until it's gone. And sometimes, you know, they just don't on about physical disappearance, but the breaking down of the spirit within. Not only does the food and the chemicals and, you know, certain things in our society are unnatural for us do that along the way, but, you know, I've kept my boyishness for quite a long time. My cheekiness, Kevin has, Anders has, Claire has, quite a lot of us have, you know. Again, why? Because we don't conform, we don't obey willingly, and we have to ask questions first. But there are a lot out there that just get broken down and get destroyed. The teachers themselves, they ought to be in the army. Some of them not teaching, they're actually quite vicious and rough. When a teacher has to shout and threaten, they've lost control. Children love nothing more than to test their, you know, teachers at certain times. And you know, a teacher can demonstrate authority, but there are ways and means of doing it. We once had a really quiet French teacher, and when he whispered, and you didn't listen to him. Anybody that then he came, he did do certain things. He was totally out the box, but he was brilliant. You know, he used to take it upon himself to catch people smoking, ride down to the bottom of the field on his racer to get you all in detention. He went above and beyond. He really cared. And we thought he was mean at the time, but looking back, he was one of the exceptions to the rule there, and he hardly shouted, he hardly swore. He did discipline us because he wanted us to be the best version of ourselves we could be, but them minds are few and far between. The teachers don't get paid enough. They're actually getting attacked by little ones now because of the way that the system is. It's so much of a encroachment on life and rights, and being told now the little ones have been influenced by media and music, and things have, you know, progressed so far since we was all at school. Society's changed again, language has changed again, music has changed again. It's like we need to, where will it stop? It's getting beyond a joke. So I think we could look at later down the line, we'll talk in the Telegram chats, we'll mention it on we'll put it in the forums on the private domain, and we'll look for what we can do for education and self-education, getting back to that, what Claire's brought out at the beginning of the video, and how you would look at removing and educating at school. Then it might be beneficial to quite a lot. But you see, the thing that I need to mention is that we've more missed is that with us being in this system of slavery, servitude, surety to the national debt, the promises there, you know, what it is mums and dads can't actually homeschool and home educate, because they need to be out Monday to Friday 9 till 5, so they can't physically be at home because there's the income factor. This is what the main barrier is in most countries, not just here in, you know, the United Sovereign States of being in the Republic of New Britain, England, the UK. It's the fact that they need to be out for so many hours and they can't actually be at home to educate. So that's why I'm saying we need to pull the resources, not because I'm trying to rack up funds for, so we can all help one another. If we could chip in somehow and get land venues, get it checked out, safety, get mums and dads to agree, then we could actually do something rather beautiful. I yield.
I'm going to duck out now, guys, because it's my night of me with no little ones time. So it was just a quick hello imparting. So I have a game of chess to try and win. So I'm going to say good night. I never win. I've won once. It's like, oh, so I'm going to win tonight.
Oh, I only
So
have
thank
to
you
say
all.
to your boyfriend over there, don't knock out the queen directly.
Don't knock out the queen directly. Yeah, I've lost my queen quite a few times very early on. Most frustratingly, I didn't see that. Mine is because I can't hold enough in my head to manage all of the strategies. I can't hold enough. But anyway, love to everybody.
Oh, he's beautiful.
Bless
He's
you.
bold. Bold. He's beautiful.
He's beautiful, yeah.
Ciao. Welcome. Oh, bless him. Thank you both. Thank you, Claire. You're a legend.
No
We
worries.
love you lots. You're
Love you
amazing.
too.
Thank you.
No,
Bless
thank
you.
you. Glad to be here. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
There we go. What a delight she is. Oh, bless her. You just coming out. I wonder if he realizes he's live on Tube as well, not just on Zoom.
I don't
love
care
it.
where I am as long as I'm happy, you know?
Oh, I mean, Claire's other half there, a soul flame. I wonder if he realized that he just made his debut. Baldy from Sweden. I love it.
Yeah.
Come on, Simon. Amanda's, you can take over. I'm just going to skim the room.
Oh, I don't know what to say. I'm a good listener, and I bring in some comments sometimes. So I don't know. I don't know what to talk about here. Yeah. I don't know, but no, I think we are jumping over that thing, really. So no, I leave it back to you, Master.
No. Simon, have you got anything you want to broach or say before I go on on another tangent?
Hmm. Not, not really, David. I didn't mean to change the subject. I didn't know what you were talking about there, in full. But yeah, that's just what I'm dealing with at the minute. But lots of people, as I said, lots of people that knew me, it shocked them. But as I said, the signs should have been around there for loads of people in my childhood. But just to give you a summary and just see what people would recommend doing. So I was about 10 years old. I got on okay at school. I still had the bullying off that teacher, but I used to play out in the back roads near my house, and there was this mechanic, and it wasn't unusual for people to be around there helping him out. But one day in particular, um, he got me helping. And little to helping, he was saying he had the dash out in his van. Without realizing, next thing, he sexually assaulted me. And I didn't
Oh,
tell
shit.
anyone for years.
Okay.
I've literally only told people this year, because someone else that was older than me a year ago committed suicide. And I didn't know it at the time, but he had obviously done a similar thing to him, or even worse, maybe. So that, I didn't realize when I was young, but it left me sort of shocked for a year. It was only after, say, 2 or 3 years coming to 13, 14, you realize what's happened to you. But at that stage, I went down the road to getting in sort of trouble myself, and I'd my mother and father wondering what was wrong with me, and different things. But the time didn't move fast, and next thing I ended up in a young person's institute, not really getting in much trouble, meaning the most of the harm I was doing to myself. So I wasn't really harming anyone in particular, but they had a set in me. And before I was even 16, I ended up in the worst prison in Europe, St. Pat's in Ireland.
Oh, wow.
I never got in trouble. As I said, from the age of 18, I've never gotten trouble or never been arrested or anything. Like, I've always helped people. And that's what I was always like that when I was young. But obviously, when these things happen to you, it leaves you in shock. And even since then, my whole life, as I said, every few weeks or every few months, you get the flashbacks and it comes into your head about it, and different things. I would have left these things, as I said to you, I never wanted to play any victim. That's why I said it shocked loads of people when I tell them this, but
You come out well. You haven't let it. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's not easy for you to say or to bring up any means. And
it's a lot of hassle now at this age. As I said, with my own, I have a son that's near 18 myself, so it's a lot of hassle to go back, like chasing up these things. But the mechanic that done this to me is still alive, and he's obviously, well, one man that was 7, 8 years older than me committed suicide last year. So it's obviously known, but I don't know has that happened to the fella, but as I said, I'm going to try and go after him for it, and obviously the state, because they put me in a place that wasn't suitable even for adults to go into. It was against all human rights, no education. The only thing you learn about in there is obviously crime. As I said, you're exposed as a child to like pornographic images all over the cells. There was more drugs in the place than I had ever seen growing up. I knew nothing about most of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? I was like, and it's such an experience, but I pulled, as I said, I pulled through it. Not many people did from that ended up there. As I said, it would have an awful rate of reoffending and different things. But the place is shut down now. But as I said, I'm taking action against the state for it anyway, because you wouldn't believe the conditions, you wouldn't believe it.
I would, but no, not so much from your point of view. That's that's hardcore, and it's unforgivable. But
so it's a lot of hassle. But as I said to you, I'm going to chase them up. As I said, I've been doing it. And they know it's coming. But it's a lot of hassle for me. As I said, I've been out of the system. Everything I do, as I said, I don't exist. Everything I do is through trust. I have loads of different hats, and I have everything set up perfect. I don't need money. I have plenty of money coming in, different things like that. So as ever, everything is perfect. But this, as I said to you, is just, it's been hanging over me, you know. So I just have to get it sorted out. But I have to go back into the system, obviously, to do it, you know. I cannot do it.
Yeah, that's it. That's what we do. We put the different hats on. Johnny Blue hat, Jennifer Yellow hat. I'm sure there was some books at the school there entitled Billy Blue Hat and so forth. You just took me back again, but it's all about, yeah, we operate in the private, we implement the instrumentation.
And that's for anyone listening, like everything online, as I said, is always, you know, I'm all about, I've heard all the experts over, you know, 10, 15 years, studied them all, met loads of them, talked to them, you know, and the solution is simple. It's a state trust. And true, once you set up trust, as I said, it's harder with kids, and you obviously need money. Whatever you consider money to be, fiat currency. So you cannot go out of the system, say, and have kids and go, well, how do you pay for anything? But once you have a bit of money or you have money coming in, you can operate through trust. All your electric should be set up through a trust. Everything. You can go down the route of having companies, but the trust owns the significant share of the company. So you can keep, it's easy to keep out the system. I do always wonder, but it's hard. I do always wonder what people are looking at. It's hard when you're in the system and you have problems at your door to take yourself out of it. And even I seen people say, oh, well, if I don't register my kids, I seen someone else saying earlier, have the state any hold over them? Well, they still do, because you're obviously registered yourself. You hold a citizenship. You're considered an adult. And that's where they get jurisdiction from. An adult is part of it, your citizenship and your residency, whether you're a taxpayer. But if you can work the magic, I've done it all, and sort out those things, you're literally out of the system. But you're going to have to be able to support yourself, support your family. And then you don't need any government. You don't need anything. You could literally do it all, but it's not for most people. Most people are looking for these mad solutions, but they're not there. Yeah, you're going to have to deal with the system that's there. But just look at some of the family offices and just copy what they've done. And that's the best thing you can achieve, you know, without, as I
agencies, yeah, they're like agencies,
and leaving yourself with nothing. Then no one will come near you. If you've money, you've your own trust set up, you've your own family office, you've your own family constitution. You're calling the shots with all these organizations and all the things. But if you don't have all those things in order and you cannot support yourself, well, you're always going to be reliant on some part of the system. And no matter if you think you've got somewhere, you'll find the move the line, the goalpost gets moved, whether it's the courts, and stuff moves on. People run about Halsbury now, and I know it's big, but if you go into the courts, law moves on. Before Halsbury, there was other laws, and things progress. And even you see now with people looking into, say, the electronic warrants for gas meters and all those. I can tell people after years of looking into them, they're legitimate. They don't need a wet ink stamp on them. They don't need anything. And I challenge anyone to chase them up and get one turned over. You're wasting your time. You do all the subject and access requests you want, and you're literally just wasting your time. Any problems you have now with most of them, you're as well off turning a new page, paying off any debt companies if you can, and just starting fresh. No, and these are the blocks. These are what the richest people in the world do, and these are the only ways that you can operate. There is no magic island where you can move and have no government, no passport, no citizenship.
No, it's all around the world. You have to appreciate that we're somewhat playing catch up in multifaceted, complicated, intricate areas. So we don't.
Yeah, but all around the world, it's been the same.
We have to just start and tackle one thing at a time.
You had for years, as I said, in Australia, some of the best people were saying, the PPSR is the way to go, and be a secured party creditor. but they're all literally wrong. It's all
Yep.
just, they're all wrong.
Yeah, we
One of them, and
we appreciate the Halsbury's reckoning. You know, you've got
and anyone
UK
looking at
companies.
all this stuff or even trying to blend most of it together is just wasting their time. It's plain and simple. Just learn about trust and then go from there.
We have to look at, we can't do everything all at once. We have to prioritize onto the, I agree with what you're saying, and I've known you a while, and I've got a lot of respect and love for you, and you've taught me and shown me quite a lot of you know, information that's been invaluable to what we're doing. But on that respect, we also have to look at what is the issue, where are the issues, what is the most important thing to tackle, and for families and their property and horses and you know, big barriers coming to the door. We have got quite good at repelling and dispelling them, and we're looking at the actual final remedies, but we're not perfect at what we do. And what you're saying is the advanced level. What I need to say to Tube and the ones that are here now and on the replay is, this man's got a lot of intricate, concise, advanced level knowledge, and he operates wholly privately, and he uses interfaces, and he uses, as he says, trusts, and he knows, because he can back up what he says and he's done his due diligence. I'm not privy to what he does, his private affairs and his private business, but I've got a frog in my throat. I'm not trying to, but Simon,
that's what I'm saying. When you have people, people coming to your door, it's too late to be going doing anything. Like, you know, unless if you have debt collectors looking for property, and if you've never took out any loans in that, I'd switch all your property into ownership of a trust. You know, you need to be someone else's trustee. They need to be yours, and you need various trusts. But if you're part of the system, you receive child benefit, you receive some benefit, you live in a council house, you have lots of other things to sort out first. You know, it's like,
there's a process. There is a few steps there to look at.
And it's very hard for people. I know they're all looking for a magical solution, but as I said, after years of helping loads of people, and there is loads of ways to get out of stuff, and it mainly all comes down to either fiat currency or having a bit of pull. You know, that's it.
Yeah, we've got to look at recorrection of relationships. You're right there. A lot of people want to try and fight council tax that are in a council house on benefits, and the government, the establishment is all public. You need to try to, but you've got to pick your battles wisely. You can't say, I'm not paying this.
And even another one, David, is getting electric, is people getting electric. And then when the big bills saying, trying to stop them getting meters put in on all this. And the electric should have been never in their own name, what they use, their own persona, if they're going to do that type of stuff. And even if they weren't, your electric should be always in a third party trust. Your car should be owned by a trust. You should own nothing, only the clothes on your back.
We recognize the true potential now of asset management titles, what titles you've got, legal liability, and moving to the private. And there is a pathway like we're trying to teach in the private, because a lot of this is getting plagiarized.
It's all about title and capacity, David, you know.
Title rights, property.
All the people that go into the court screaming, I'm a man, they're going to get dragged out of there.
I'm the man. Yeah, I know. It's
you know, as I said, if you go on to many of the top barristers, and even when they're young training, it's called deviling to do. They always teach them to talk about themselves in third person. So it's him, her, you know. They're never talking about themselves, and that's the way you need to think of this persona that's been set up for you, and transfer everything out of it. Create your own one. All you need that for really, as I said, for ease, is for citizenship. You need a passport, and what they've done is they've blended nationality with citizenship, so there is a way out of that, but most people won't need that unless they're taking on the system at high levels, you know. As I said, it's really about gaining the confidence and getting their house in order.
Can you hear me? Is it? Yeah, that's coming through. Just let me move. I need to go mobile a minute. There we go. Forgive me.
You know, and you have all the people that think the system considers them dead. It's not that. It's that everything put on paper is dead. You know, if you start going around the place and tell most people now, oh, the system treats us all as dead and all this, most people are going to look at you as if you're crazy.
Yes, it's there's a way and a means of state paperwork, procedure, paperwork. Last will and testament, powers of attorney, put into property over to the correct areas. There's a terminology and a language to use, and there's a time and a place to use that. And that's why we've changed what we do from the public and go to the private. We started off angry, we started off confused, we started off as free men and constitutionalists and Magna Carta champions, and we've had to grow up, we've had to lose the anger, we've had to control the fear. We haven't lost the fear, and we've had to box clever. What you're saying is I agree with a lot of that there, and there's some out there.
And all the people that push this quantum grammar and get too much into all that stuff, it really doesn't matter, you know.
Well said.
It's a little trap that you could spend years going into etymology of words and all this. It is good for your brain, like learning, but it will not help you, like in practical things that you have to deal with, you know. If anything, it's going to work against you. When judges see that, all that stuff, as I said, it doesn't work out well, you know. You won't see the videos up on YouTube, but I've seen the most clever people been dragged out and held in contempt of court just because of paperwork.
Isn't it better to just speak your mind, you know, when you are there? You are just telling them what's on your mind, what you believe, and
and that's the way it is. But you need, as I said, everything in order, you know. You're going to lose otherwise. If you have everything in order, you have a fair chance of the judges seeing in your favor in most things, you know. Anything that they've discretion to use, if you're good and you've stuff in order, they'll find in your favor. It doesn't work the other way, you know. People have it all wrong, and they're listening to too much crap and too many people all over the place. Like all this stuff with the common law court, I'll say it. All the people are wasting their time.
We've already said that. Yeah, carry on. We've already put that to bed as well and put out but carry on. Yeah, we back that up as well.
Yeah, they're just wasting their time. Right? Now you have thousands of people in Australia putting in loads of time and effort and years, and they're all waiting on stuff allegedly from the common law court. All crap that's going to get them in trouble. The common law is the settled law of the land, and it runs alongside the statute law, you know. So when the judge is using any discretion, he's using common law, you know.
Yeah, we've said that. That's why we like some of the equitable, you know, remedies.
The common law of the land now is like they're using judgments, you know, precedents in cases. So as I said, all this comes down to, and even the thing thumbprint in your documents. If you go back 100 years in time, you'll see that for a man to contract with a company, the man's common seal is his thumbprint. And the company's common seal is their seal with their number on it, you know. And for a contract to be valid, that's what you needed. So this thing of using it on documents to say you're alive, really you're saying the opposite, you know.
Well, no, it's more to distinguish. They're saying it's some in like the Franco Collins style ecclesiastical deed poll. That's thumb pollex, you know. It's partly down to Frankie's creation of the EDP, and
but it was it's even before that. It's even before that, David. You know, it's.
Oh yeah, but you can see where he's got it from. He's created an EDP and the 7 points on there.
It's even me knowing about ecclesiastical law for years, David. The same as the. I had an expert from Australia, that's Queen's Counsel, you know, ask me about this, you know, and it's running alongside the settled law of the land, ecclesiastical law, but it's still based in admiralty. If you look at the words, vessel.
Yeah. I've had a look at them. I have indeed. It's so
and all canon laws, I said, are still maritime admiralty, you know.
Yeah, we stay away from it. I haven't used an EDP. I haven't sent one away. I'm just comparing to the comparative things.
As I said, all those documents, as I said, would be considered like, say, if you're part of a society. Years ago, they were called friendly societies. That's where you get lots of the building societies out of now, banks. And they're like private, they had their own laws, their own canons. So as I said, you can have a private, like, sort of ID or say baptism cert or whatever you want to call it, but it still won't help you in these situations. You just need to know how to keep yourself as you, your Christian name, away from everything. You need a legal barrier between. You need to do what the system has done to you to them. So it's all about what I say, getting your house in order and knowing how to operate, how you pay your electric, how you pay anything you want to pay, you know.
Not moving, not mixing the oil and the water, the public and the
That's
private,
it.
and keeping this is the key. What we found, the public and the private have got limitations.
And all,
Both.
like in all most of these schemes, as I said, people like, you know, trying to fight against electric companies and even saying, oh, the warrant isn't legit now. It was the court was hired and all this. It's all crap, David. Have you seen
It
one
works to an
person?
extent. It
As
works
I
to an
said
extent, but it does.
years
Go
ago,
on.
as I said to you, I've done that. I've turned people away, like with no seals and documents. But it was mainly because of my status, not because the document had no seals on it. You know, it's considered now with the dematerialization and digitalization, you need no wet signatures on anything. Even
Well,
like,
look, can I just point out? Can I just point out? You've got public and you've got UK and you've got civil, and public UK civil and the statutory Westminster that's defaulted out by mandate as common law is in with the common law duties and obligations. The common law duties and obligations do no harm, injury. You know, we out in the public. You've got certain prerequisites we must abide by. Then you've got the common law of Westminster, which is all of the secular public UK civil legislation and codes and that. And then we've got England and Wales, where you've got actual law. The law is in England and Wales, and that's in a different jurisdiction.
yeah.
And you've
David,
got civil policy and stuff. Yeah, we've come to separate that, and we haven't spoken
but
for a while. But yeah,
what
I
I
get
say
what
to
you're
anyone,
saying.
if you're living now, as I said, in the UK,
Legal and lawful are different. Legal and lawful are totally different
yeah,
things, aren't they? Yeah, go on.
even yeah, but as I said, they are completely different, David. But in a practical sense, and day to day for everyone, it's been blended together, you know. So
Yes,
as I
yeah.
said, in another 50 years, they might say what we have happening to us now, these changes, they might say some famous barrister will end up writing a book that'll be similar to Hasbury's, and they'll say these were necessary changes.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The people mightn't have been educated on it at the time and different things, you know. So it's all about getting your house in order. As I said, you need yourself and be able to take care of yourself. You know, it's okay blaming the system and going, oh, the church took this and all these people took that.
You need to establish your status, standing, and capacity. This is what we've come to learn. Does man have the status?
That's it. Everything else is a waste of time. You'll find once you've established those things, gained your confidence, you mightn't even have anything, but you'll find the doors open up for you and you'll have less hassle. You'll have everything in order, you know.
No, but it echoes what you're saying about using the trust and the trust technology and titles and property and management. That's what man needs to do. That's what we're trying to educate.
And that's what it's all about.
There are areas that you need to operate in and
like
execute.
The two options people are looking for is either out of the system or out of the system. So you can go out of the system and you can alienate your citizenship, give up paying any taxes, and literally have nothing. You literally will have nothing, or you cannot get anything.
Yeah. John Harris comes to mind there. Carry on, yeah.
Or the other option is to set up your own trust for your property trust, another trust for your legal personality they created. So it'd go, David, you're an adult in a trust. So you'd be in full capacity, but your person, say, would be always operated by your trustees for whatever you want to use it for, you know.
Non-government organisations. We're talking NGOs again, aren't we now?
Yeah, and that's the way, and that's the only way to go. You know, the best word to call one of those would be a friendly society. You know, and everyone should have their own one. Like as I said, the best way to look at it would be a family office and a family constitution, you know, and build up from there. there is no, as I said to you, easy out for anything. You might get away with paying no electric or keeping them away for months or chase them up. But it's just a waste of your time is too valuable. People's time is too valuable. They should be using that time to do better things,
Yeah, yeah. Everybody's at different stages, and
They
we
just
like
need
to
to
sort out the mess.
turn a new leaf and just leave all the crap there and just start fresh.
You see, you got the
know,
Christian connotations of it, though, haven't you? As we're in a Christian nation, and we've got Christians and Catholics, and we've got religion, and we've got the merger of the church and the state, and the Queen's coronation oath. There are certain prerequisites and fundamental rights, human rights, European rights, Christian rights, and then you've got your legal separation of. So you've got a legal, you've got a lawful, and then you've got the Christian Abrahamic type divisions
but
of.
David,
Again,
you know when your house is in order, you don't need any rights. I won't need.
Come on.
What rights you need? Only what you have yourself. You have your house in order. Say you have your bit of land, your garden. Say you have people coming in. Say that's you've you have in contract through your trust. Say to take care of things. You're homeschooling your sons and daughters.
Education. Yeah. I am an educator.
So there is no one that can dictate to you. You're as free as you could be. I don't know what other freedom that you can have. And
free from the legal liabilities. Yes, we've got to separate. You got to appreciate, Simon, that you're very, very advanced, and all I'm doing with my commentary and cutting in is just to help the chat room out, because we've got some viewers and the consciousness is describes at different levels.
It is, David, as I said to you, but that's why I'm trying to tell people. Really, it is. But when you get down to it, as I said to you, it's basic, simple stuff, because everything revolves around you and your status, and that's where you have to start. Where you live, how you pay your bills, where your kids.
I live in my body. Listen, bruv, I live in my body, mate. That's where I live, not in a house. Yeah.
But it's all got to do with, as I said, sorry, residency, taxpayer, citizen.
Yep.
And that's how people operate. But you need to leave those there and operate through. As I said, why I say trust is you could take any other legal structure, but then that's you directly. Say if you took on the role of CEO, or you had significant control of a company, and then it's registered a company's house. But by you, say, doing this through a trust, and they have significant control, you're always keeping a barrier between you,
You're splitting the titles. What we're doing is happens is the titles are then split.
And remember, any company you set up or any trust isn't you, but it has the same persona as you if you want it to be. So it can be the taxpayer. It can gain anything you can, if you're due inheritance, say, off someone else that's registered and a taxpayer. So you can get all the privileges of saying being a citizen without being a citizen, or without being anything got to do with them, But it takes getting your house in order, and building from there.
Yeah, that's what we're all about.
If you're getting pulling into court and you have to scream, I'm a man, and you're screaming all this stuff to the judge, like I've heard recently on something, you're wasting your breath, you're gone too far.
Well, we have to. You have to get your paperwork proceeds, man, and the paperwork.
And even the paperwork, if it's too late, is no good. It's no good getting into a load of hassle saying and coming to SPLPro saying, "Oh, I need you to deal with this for me, and can you deal with that?" and sort of work some magical miracles for people,
Yeah, thank you for saying that, because a lot do come at the last moment, and then they want to put down the hatches when it's too late because they've already got the hooks in.
Yeah, and a lot of time the reason most people want to be going, I'm learning this so this doesn't happen to someone else. I mightn't be able to save myself this time, but it won't happen to me again. I know at times it's hard, like if you're dealing with your sons and daughters in these type of courts and with benefit places, But as I said, those people in those situations just need to deal with those things and not make the situation worse. Lots of people won't want to hear that, but as I said, they're out wasting their time and they're making the situation worse. They need to learn from the experience and going, well, this isn't going to happen to me again, you know. If I can help someone else from it
The
happening.
baptism of fire, it's yeah, too right, because we have these appointed ministers in office, and they hold positions like the prime minister, the first minister. I won't get into prime and what would we call it now? We would say principals and principals. The principal and prime can be related. We've got our generals and secretaries in this country landmass, and we can use those offices. The Home Secretary and Secretary of State and so forth need to be having a communication put to them, and to what we would say. We would correct the relationships. It just puts what Simon said into English speak. Then there's a reason why we have officers and secretaries and generals and so forth. They're there to work for us, and they will be put into positions of trust, say under such things as the ministerial code. And if you effectively communicate and establish the correct reset, the relationships, and establish the right relationships, and you do it before anything happens, then nothing will happen to you, because then the correct titles and rights and everything like that, not so much with syntax, quantum, and yeah, you're right. I'll back up what you're saying. Just let me recap, because you've come in out the blue and you've blown ships out of the water, as you are known to do. So this is why we have this setup and offices, and the war as such. The reverend captains, a reverend is in the army. I mean, captain is in the army, so the reverend's in the army because he's a reverend captain. The government's in the kind of an army. Are we still at war? Yes, we're at war, at many levels of war, commerce, all's fair in love and war. So this is why it's taken us a while to get here, and others aren't as knowledgeable as you. So I'm just trying to translate and, mitigate the types of positions of which you can or cannot choose to do. And effective communication and correction of title rights, and split titles and private trusts and that are the way forward. And I just need to help out the chat room and the ones that are here, just so they can actually, mentally, get a picture, an image of what is going to happen in the common laws, the Magna Carta, the constitutions, and things that have been put out there in the public domain, and shouting, I'm a man. Yeah, they can't hear you. It's like going into a court and trying to use Admiralty Constitution and, Ecclesia UCC, when it's an Admiralty Maritime set up to do so. It can't hear you, it can't recognise you. And if you don't present effectively, we call it they call it represent, but if you don't present and communicate effectively, then they have if you can't control that judge and limit his discretion and have your paperwork sort things out for you, and you're going to have to try and do it verbally, then they're not going to hear you, they're not going to recognise you, and they've got no other choice but to carry on and do the business that needs to be done. And that would normally be in the form of a summary judgment or charges and things upheld as they were, because you failed to make presentment in the correct fashion at the correct law levels, meet them, and then move them and let them know, and then give them the chance to do business. And if you can't do that, you shouldn't be doing that, because you will fail, is what we've seen. Yeah, and there's been too many good things, men, lives, property lost with stupid argumentation. I'm not the surety, I demand to see your oath. I, man. There's certain ways of doing business, and we've learned, trust me, we've learned a lot in a short time, and we've got much more to learn, my man. Yes, we have. Oh, dearie me, God bless you.
Yeah, some of the best lay litigants get steamrolled, are people representing themselves that really they get steamrolled. The most effective thing I've ever been is always helping other people, but I'm always doing it operating out of trust, And I've had all the things like, I don't give financial advice, legal advice, or medical advice. So anyone hearing this live now, this is all hypothetical stuff,
Yes, well said. We're not giving, there's been no disclaimers, but yeah, they know, they should know, but just for safety's sake, yeah, we're not giving financial legal advice. No, we're just having a chat and getting together on the Sunday sessions. And we look at the chat room and see what's going off then. I don't know if you can see the chat room, fam, but oh yes, thank you for coming on, and thank you for everything you've said. It's been a true delight, my man. We're not going to be here all night, but Yes, I.
Why not? You must be well rested now, David.
Oh, there it is. There it is. I'm absolutely wiped out, energy-wise. I don't know what's going off, but yeah, I'm struggling to stay up late. I used to be able to 3 o'clock in the mornings, no problem, but now stress, pressure, and life in itself. There's lots going off for us all. There's many areas that need attention to, and we're trying the best, you know, privately, publicly to some extent as well. And we're trying to, you know, help everybody. That's what we're here today. That's why Simon's saying what he's saying. He's not saying it to be big-headed or to show what he knows or to insult anybody. It's just there's a practicality of the ways to do business, and we've learned we are leading the game of life in some ways. We're not at war. We're not malicious, we're not vicious, we're not vexatious, but sometimes life drives us to that, you know, style. And it's a big old journey. Everybody's at different stages of the journey. Not everybody's got the same problems, but there is kind of, with what Simon's saying and what we've learned and what we promote, there is a way to fix most legal issues lawfully. And that's roughly on the thread of what we've been doing tonight. So we're helping to correct certain areas, and we're helping to develop certain areas, and we're correcting ourselves. We are building the boat as we sail it.
What is stunning me a lot here, that is when you talk to other people about sovereignty, then they always comes like, are you an anarchist, you know? And I say, no, I'm not an anarchist, you know? Yeah, but you don't want to be under the laws and things. I have no problem to be under laws. We got God's 10 laws, you know. We don't need other laws, you know. And it's about our moral.
That's
Mostly
right. Yeah,
about the
that's right.
moral.
But there is
Yeah.
there is other things at play before you can start saying about biblical and you know the maxims and the biblical precepts that are in the 10 commercial maxims of law, and they're there for various reasons. You know, I'm a traveller. My ethnicity is traveller. I'm a sovereign that lives inside his body, and there are certain things that we can use, that we can make use of. But you can't really rely upon them unless you can back it up. You can't just say what you've heard. And to be fair, the Queen and the Parliament claim sovereignty, but if you know, certain lessons we've learned show us about private sovereignty would be private, self-governing, self-managing, self-reliant, but you need to be able to back up what you say and hold to account the ones that ignore your rights. You have unalienable rights, inherent rights, you know, but you don't so much in a public legal person, status, standing, and capacity, being a public legal person that hasn't done any house in order correction and title correction and asset management, property management, go out there by doing nothing and then claim all of that. There are certain steps and pathways, you know, when they say you think you don't have to follow the law. Well, there's about 10 areas of law off the top of my head. Which law do you refer to? There are laws to be followed. There are laws for business. There are laws for religion. There are laws for human rights. There are laws for commerce. There are laws for employment. There are laws for data. There are laws for shipping. You know what I mean? So it's which are relevant and applicable to you, and which is the pathway on doing that. So yeah, you're right, Anders. Most people think that you are a freeloader and that you're an anarchist because you don't recognize authority, but we do, and we operate within that. But there are legal authorities, there are lawful authorities, there are biblical authorities. So it's like it's managing, Simon has pointed out, and we've tried to point out, to recognize those and to how to control everything in a non-vexatious way. John Harris, you know, back in the day, getting rid of the birth certificate allegedly and putting it in the bin, as Simon said, and if you did that, you'd have a civil death. You'd have no civil interaction, interface at all. Whereas a legal interface and a person correctly managed and estate management correctly done, honorably done correctly, would then render you able to be private, but also able to operate in the public. So you've got the best of both worlds there. You know, so it's it's a big old game. There are relevant aspects to it, and there are irrelevant aspects to it. So it's you know, it's a lot to take on. There's a lot here. Simon's very privileged in some ways, and he's not been privileged by what he's openly given us tonight. He's gone through the mill and he's had some shit times, as most of you all have. So we're strong, and we're stronger than we were. We're not perfect. We've still got a fair way to go, but we're not lost, and we're not you know, in as much trouble as we were. We've done a lot, and we've got a lot under our belt, but there's more to do, a lot more to do. And thank you for what you've said, Simon. I know you've said that with love, honor, and integrity. I love you lots. You're a good man. Anders, you're a good man. Everyone's good in most ways. I'm just saying, because you two are on the chat now, Anders and Simon. Then Sister Claire, you know, she's a breath of fresh air, a godsend. But I hope some of this hasn't got lost in translation, which is why I've said what I've said as well, and trying to, you know, we're not perfect. splspro, David, Indi Glow, we haven't got all the answers, but together we've got a lot, you know, a lot more than we did have. Simon, are you still there, bro?
Yes, David.
Yeah, man. Respect.
Yeah, we have
Yeah,
to
as I
go
said,
by experience.
yeah, go on, Ganders.
No, I just said it. If we have to come up to that point, that has to be by experience. Somebody that is risking their situation or whatever to test out something, like I'm going to do now in a couple of weeks. I'm going to go to a court. I'm sued for £100,000. So that's going to be really fun, but I'm looking forward to it, because then I can ask some questions. And if everything fucked up, then I still can have my economic redemption, or what you call it. What are you calling it? It is when they take away all your debts and things, they clear out everything.
Bankruptcy.
Yeah, yes, but we don't call it like that.
Insolvency.
Yeah.
Yes, insolvency, yes. So anyway, even if I go to court and they say that I have to pay this money, when I do this in insolvency, that's going to go away anyway, you know. But now at least I have a chance to ask some questions in the court, and that's
Yes,
really
yes.
important for me.
Yeah, it's like they'll repackage your debt into a manageable payment, is it, for so long, and then you'll be clear of it.
Yes, and there is 3 alternative actually. I found out of that. You can live on minimum wage for 5 years, and then they take all those money going over the minimum wage, and then you are free. But then there is another option that you can go 3 years. And that is if you have a lower income, and then if you're already living on the minimum, then they can take it away directly. So I'm aiming for that one too, because I'm already paying a lot of debts here. So I'm hoping to get rid of that in that way, in an honorable way, you know, showing them that this was not correct, you know, and so I at least have the chance to do it, you know. And if that doesn't work, then I have to do the insolvency. So yeah, that's my plan.
Yeah, so yeah, that's all you can do. You can either pay the debt, you can deny the debt, you can conditionally accept the debt, or you can go for insolvency. Solvency, glue, bond, bonds, glue, solvent. Solvent is a type of glue. Insolvency, unbonded. The language there is key as well. I know it's not critically important, but I've obsessed on etymological root references, Latin, English, legalese, just my mind. We all designed on this earth and put here by the creator for different jobs and purposes, and we all got a part to play. Not that we're actors, but It's interesting. Yeah, the words and it does help get clarity. Adhesion contracts. There's another form of glue type language in finance. So it's just something I'd mention. Insolvencies, instead of bankruptcy kind of commercial. Insolvency, maybe private, grantor of the money, grantor, God granted, the Creator granted the world to the Christians being beneficiaries of a trust, so to speak. So grantor, settlor, trustor, testator, the languages, the way the words end, trustee, mortgagee, and things like that. So the chat room's alive here. People are talking about royal charters as well. Royal charters do the same. I have one, says Honda 4004, allows body politic. Yeah, Simon, body politics, royal charters, as well as a body corporate. That's exactly the language Simon was angling at when he was on about earlier in the beginning. Is that not right, Simon, would you say?
Yeah,
body politic, body corporate, Honda 404, 4004, Bosh. Electric chat.
I think in most countries, the office, say, of president or prime minister would be a sole corporate. So his office is a sole corporate. So there's a continuation when you have a new one coming in, So the office itself is a sole corporate.
This is it. It's you've got a lot of passion, you've got a lot of love. That's why I'm backing you up, and I'm heavily agreeing with what you're saying. It's just the terminology, the language, the importance, the procedure, the process, how you would do this, how you get it across, what we can look at doing, other options. This language wasn't spoken about 5 to 10 years ago on YouTube, Simon, and if it was, many didn't understand it, and it washed over, man. So you're getting, respect. Can we really trust a word coming out of Deviler's pie hole? Devilers. That was interesting comment that you made there. They've picked up on that as well, though.
Yeah, so when a barrister, when they're studying, they do like an apprenticeship for a year, and I think in the UK it's known as pupilling, and in, say, America and Ireland it's known as deviling, So it just tells you with the black robes.
The deviling,
And pupilling.
Yeah.
It's the same with Switzerland. Here in Sweden, we call it Helvetica. Oh no, we don't call it Helvetica. We call it Schweiz. But the old name is Helvetica. But in Sweden, that is hell. Helvetet.
No way.
Yes.
Look at that. It's all relevant. It is relevant. There are clues in the language. I got this from Maxwell and Banacci, to be fair. They were the ones that got me on this train, and many of you, I'm sure. But it only goes so far. Then you need to move on. That's what Simon is saying. Simon says, we listened.
Yeah, as I said, there's some, as I said, great interest and stuff, but when as I said, you see people like trapped into stuff for years, or they're going around in circles, when it's like far easier. There's lots of agents, and whether the people know they're agents, say they become agents working for free, and they're promoting stuff that'll just lead you around in circles. You just need to figure out what you want to achieve, and everything can be done, as I said, simply through trust. For most people, it should be taught in school. These basic things should be just taught, and really, because of the way the system is, everyone should know how to operate in it. Otherwise, it's not really fair, is it? But if
That's
it was
right.
fair and equal, you wouldn't have a disparity in wealth, would you? And generational wealth, and the same families have seemed to keep their wealth for generations. But this is how they achieve it. They're not doing that magical. They're still bound by laws themselves, but it's just the way they manage things. As I said, a family office, family constitution, and these things are all free. They don't cost a lot of money. Creating a trust doesn't cost much. It's just learning about it and having the right people, obviously, to help you. But basic enough. It's easier to do the things than watch, say, people for hours, unless you're into that. Like, you know what I'm saying? But I think most people are looking for some solution. Well, lots of people are looking for ways, obviously, to get money or a way around the system with things. You know, how do I get away with, say, not paying me mortgage or various things? But they're in the wrong, they're on the wrong footing to achieve those things, you know, if they wanted to. You know, if you're, say, if you have a family office and a trust and you have a mortgage now, well, you'll obviously have some money coming in, so you can always go to these banks or debt companies, and your best solution is bargaining with them. You know, as I said, that's where I've had great success. As I said, is bargaining with them and getting them to reduce bills. You know, once they know you know what you're on about, as I said, you'll find they'll reduce stuff 70%. You know. And
That
don't get me,
reminds me of the taxes that corporations have had to pay, and they do a bargaining with the Chancellor of the Exchequer and so forth, and they get
that's it.
preferential
Like,
rates. What you've just said there is actually happens and has been put into the
yeah,
public
and,
domain
and
and
that's it.
highlighted.
That's the best way, as I said, for most people, as I said, to turn a new leaf. As I said, if you owe a few £100 of that, I'd say just bite the bullet, do a deal with them, and don't get yourself into the situation again, you know. As if you have to pay yourself or pay other people, say, to go and help you, it wouldn't pay, you know. You're as well off, say, working a minimum wage job and getting the money than chasing up stuff you're never going to be successful at, you know. It's just a waste of time.
There's a comment here that I wanted to read out from Sister Lisa. I've lost it though. The room's just updated, but she said she's learned, she has learned and continue to learn so much to the positive on here. It's both improved and simplified many aspects in life for me and my family. Grateful to you all for the continued input. Thank you. That's exactly what the narrative is. Understanding, understanding, overstanding, and we've learned to disregard certain aspects of what we thought was important, as relative as it is. There are higher, more important areas to look at: the triangle, correction, titles, rights, split titles, liabilities. Common law is relevant in the form of social conduct, but it's no good for defence and articulation with regards to claims and property, assets, rights, things like that. So courtrooms aside, churches aside, bankruptcy, insolvency aside, language, etymology aside, UCC, Admiraltime, Maritime Admiralty, Ecclesia. It's you know, there's a lot. Each it's jurisdiction, isn't it? Each jurisdiction has got a relevant part to play, and they all commingle. They're multifaceted areas to some extent, and not one of them will save you. What we've learned to do is use and utilize many areas, look at the languages and the at-law levels, and then move between them, implement the instrumentation. Remember that the signature applied to something is actually basically your consideration in the form of a contract agreement. The signature is also known as the equitable asset. The birth certificate can be looked at as an equitable instrument. The birth certificate, your person, surnames, having a surname at birth, put in the chat room there, etc. So
yeah, is whatever way your surname is on your birth certificate too, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. It really doesn't matter. That certificate is equivalent, like, to 200 years ago would be a settlement certificate. So if you feel like you're truly in a slave, you're held in slavery by the system, that's your settlement certificate, and you can go back to your own, like, nationality with no citizenship, take yourself right out of the system. It doesn't matter what way your name is wrote on it, you know. It doesn't, what grammar is used, it doesn't matter, you know.
We had the red herrings there for a while. We often concentrated. We looked at it, and we moved on, and we found, you know, as you've seen, as you know.
Yeah, well, you've seen my documents, David. It took me years to chase down a live born certificate. I got it. I have every certificate that you needed to get, like, and people were saying years ago to me, even Romley, he doesn't really respond to anyone, but I've sent the same certificate that you said, and he said to me, "Oh, that's great, you got it." And I was like, I got what? I said, most people I know can get the same certificate. He was making out like it was magical, meaning getting all this certificate without your surname on it. And that's what keeps you. It doesn't make any bit of difference. The significance about it is it's your settlement certificate to the nation, to the land where you were born. And even under the Catholic social doctrine, you'll see it says within it that if you're held a slave anywhere, even by your government, you have a right to return to the land after 7 years, you know. And they recognize this, but it's just you need to get your house in order, meaning there will be no, oh, here you've returned to the land or this. It's that you know how to operate now. There is no magical change. It's just that you know how everyone else operates. They operate through trust, through third person. They're never themselves unless you see them like as a persona on television or whatever. You know, that's their. It's
Yeah,
not them, you
we've
know.
got issues with some certificates of live birth because hospitals have now been demolished and they've gone into archives and stuff, and there is difficulty. You've got Southern Ireland, haven't you? So you've done it.
Yeah, well, the reason I could get it is because I'm the eldest to 7. So it was held in my mother's record for 25 years after the birth of the last child, you know. So I got it, and all it had on it really was my first name. The first name they gave me was my surname on that, you know. So it wasn't me Christian. It wasn't me Christian name. So the first person that was born is the state entity, you know, the surname. And it had me weight on it and time of birth and various things. And I got it authenticated and all that, you know. But if people are chasing those thinking it's the magic or this will give you money from the treasury, there is no gold in any treasury waiting for you, you know. Nothing.
No, just having the title rights and not being public
As I said,
liability.
the three things it's a settlement certificate for your land, for the nation. It's your share of the corporation, meaning the country, the nation corporation that you're in. So it is your share certificate of that company, all right, meaning you can be elected to office when you reach the raging majority if you wanted. You wouldn't be able to if you didn't have one of those, you know.
Can you use the birth certificate as your claim to being the sole shareholder in the corporate company because you've got?
As I said, it is, but David, but it won't lead you anywhere, you know.
Yeah, it's just status and.
You can, as I said, you can, but that's all part of just getting yourself in order. You know all these things, and it really doesn't matter, you know.
Yeah.
As I said, it really does not matter. It's just like it's your settlement certificate to the land, and it's your share of the corporate company, and it has the 2 dates obviously on it. So the only thing, as I said, to save you people, as I said, watching all the Romney Stewart stuff is because you're at the end of his stuff too. There was nothing in it. The only significant thing is the date of registration and your date of birth. There is nothing else. There is no magic about it, you know.
No, there is. What would we say there? Myths. There's a lot of myths that we've had to dispel.
So there's the 2 dates. The date, as I said, the country of birth, say, recognize you as being birthed into the legal system. We can say into the paper system, you know, the paper, anything that's on paper is dead.
The papacy.
Yeah, everything that's on paper is dead, you know.
What's your view of the Seta KV, of the stance there? What do you regard that as then?
Well, yeah, as I said, it was all legitimate, obviously, at the time, but now it's not. There's nothing in it.
That's what people know it as, isn't it? Yeah, the CQV, administration of the Seta KV, 1540. See, 16 in the 6th of June, 1666.
Yeah, and that's it. That's all linked to your returning to the land, David, after 7 years. So if you feel like you're a slave, what I'm saying, get your settlement certificate and return to the land and notify your government of it. Say, look, you've held me in slavery. I don't want to be part of your system anymore. I'm not paying you any tax. And just go for it.
Yeah,
no one is going to come after you, you know.
let's leave this chat here for now, everybody, because I think we've given them a lot. I don't want to overdo the video. We've been on over 2 hours, and we're going to come back. I've got somebody on who going to be on this channel for 2 weeks. Simon, Anders, others are welcome to come back. If you're in our private Telegram chat, or you know me and you're in touch with me, then you're welcome to come on as we are now.
Yeah, but I'll just finish that point, David, about the SQV.
Yeah. Oh, please, yeah, please.
That, as I said, if people look into it now, there's this, I cannot think of the name. There's a book on Catholic social doctrine, you know, and it gives like loads of valid laws, like what you'd go back to the old times, you know, and it says like after 7 years you can return to the land, and that's sort of in keeping with this SQV trust, you know. But as I said, there's nothing for most people. There's nothing to come of it. You know what I'm saying? It's all about the trust in a state, really. Once you do your will, even if it's only basic, like, and even if it's only a thing of ritual, you have it done. It goes under a seal, no one can see it. So lots of this stuff is really about you building the confidence. And you know all these things, but there will be no practical use of them. You know, it'd be only relevant, say, if you were talking to some bishops or judges about something like saying, and you're demonstrating your knowledge, say, to a certain degree, you know, of things, but there is no relevance. Once you have your trust and say, whatever legal system is set up you have to operate in the system, those things all become irrelevant, you know.
You see,
they're all just a waste of time.
This line of topic here, I don't mind saying that it was after a chat with an educator, a wealth education guardian, and then a further chat when I met Simon in Birmingham, and we had a chat and a smoke and just a fist bump of sorts. I then came out on Tube and on the domain and Facebook and said that we are not concerned with pots of gold and Treasury Direct accounts and secure party creditor and TDE account. All of this, it was moving to the private is where the remedy lies, not getting access to equity cards and being able to look at discharging purchases for cars, etc., and living like a so-called king. We don't so much chase kingships and ships as such. The true remedy and wealth and the safety of it all would be going from the public to the private, and having just to be left alone is more remedy than
I'll just say too, Dave, when the SQV was relevant too, there was, like, you'd say the religious authorities, whether they be Muslim or anyone, control both powers. You have temporal power and spiritual. But so at the minute, as I said, once you had the nations forming and they all had valid constitutions, you know, say of the people choosing their own government, the government of whatever land in particular got the temporal power of whatever religious system you're in. So the spiritual and temporal power. So that's what the government has at the minute, and the sort of the church or whatever your spiritual belief is, they have temporal power, you know. They have the rights to administer, to give Holy Communion and various, you know, religious.
The diocese
lessons.
With regards to the diocese that they control.
So that's all spiritual power, and the government are wielding temporal power. But when this SQV became, the government wasn't established as it is now. And the church, there was a tug of war between church and state for power. So sort of the agreement that was sort of fell on is that spiritual power will remain with the religious orders and temporal power will remain with the state. And that's the same system you have today, you know, where the state doesn't have anything that got to do with religion, allegedly, unless the religions are registered now, obviously, in their system. That's where that's where the state now are trying to take spiritual power, say dictating to churches when they can open. And they can, because say they've went and registered, say, with charitable status or this. So you're under their regulation. But if you're an unregulated like church or spiritual group, you'll have spiritual power that the state cannot come into. Like, so say if you wanted to do your own baptisms, it's whether other spiritual beliefs to take you has been legitimate is another thing. But you still have that power, or a father has it. He still has the spiritual power, but the temporal power has been highly regulated by the state. And even now, the spiritual power too, they're after that, meaning getting churches to register. As I said, it'd be like equivalent in America. You'd be, I think it's, is it for a First Amendment church or 14th Amendment? You know, they're unregistered, unincorporated. Well, they still have the spiritual power, you know, and they've sort of still a bit of a grip on temporal power more, say, than a registered church, but it's largely controlled by whatever nation you're in. And that all gets its legitimacy, say, from the people creating the constitution and giving it to the government, or say from the government, say a majority in it within that state electing a government. So that's how they maintain their legitimacy, you know. So if you ever go after them saying, oh, they're not legitimate, well, they can always say they are, you know.
Yeah, sorry, I was muted then. I'm just saying to the room that we're getting off soon, but now you've finished. I can just say, yeah, bless up, thank you. There's a lot. Yeah, we put a lot of this information in the Proclamation of Sovereignty, explained parts 1 and 2. And I've gone really deep on a lot of the historical, real facts of the matter, what Simon's on about, and the language that is using there. If you go to our private library, if you're a supporter, or if you go to Facebook, or you can get it for free there, either or, and you can, in our Telegram groups, they're in there as well. You've got 3 different domains to pick up. They're not the only documents to read. There's lots of them. There's church, you know, type, papacy, government types, but you look at them all, get as many as you can, get your dictionaries, and just have a look. Don't obsess on it, but familiarize yourself, know thy enemy, so to speak, because we're at war. You know, I'm not speaking in a vexatious way. We wish no harm on nobody, but there is a way out, and the language is key. But we've used a lot, even going back to 1066 Doomsday Book, land tenure, land, you know, law of property. That's why we're here, to hold your hands and to help out. And I get my hand held by many, and it's not often that you meet an excellent mind, a kung fu master such as Simon.
I just say, David, the only spiritual belief that hasn't split the powers, meaning temporal and spiritual, would be any Islamic state. You'll find that part goes in front of the name of the country, and you'll find that the government and the spiritual leaders are sort of intertwined, meaning they're one. But you'll find in most other of the beliefs, like even the Jewish, it's sort of still the same thing, but in the Western countries, the spiritual and temporal powers has been split, you know.
Yep, and I'll reference the Abrahamic Accords. They've made accords, is what they've done. I found out. I've done some digging on that, brother, as well. I looked at the administration of Trump administration, and the accords that had been signed, and the way that they do business. It was an interesting journey, that one, the Abrahamic Accords, and the different types of you know, jurisdictions that they have, and the recognition of those jurisdictions. I'm not saying that you know, everything was peachy in that, but there are certain clues out there in the public that we can find in the public records that are right under our noses, that we just weren't looking in the right places, Simon. That was the issue. Ganders his dog on the camera. Hey up, woof.
Well, that's it. Even known sort of that there's 2 predominant powers that's being wielded as part of the thing, you know. There's spiritual and temporal, you know. So once you can take back those powers as well, meaning the temporal of your government, if that's the way you want to go on spiritual off your church, you know, you're your own man and woman then, aren't you?
You are your own man or woman. You definitely are your own man. Definitely. The scribes are as well. Temporal. Look up the definition. I encourage the scribes to look at the Cambridge, the Oxford, the Latin types. Don't obsess on it, but yeah, temporal relating to practical matters or physical things rather than spiritual ones. Is that right? Am I remembering that right? Would that be a fair summarization of what you're on about? You have a
Yeah, yeah.
temple, the temple. All right, I'll just go one further. The temples are there, the Shirleys. Okay, so you go to the temple, bone of the skull beneath. So that's all I'll say, brother. You're a legend, Si. We love you lots. And thank you, Ganders. Thank you, chat room. You can come back, Simon, anytime you want. You're in the group where I post a link. So we'll try and get Bernard on as well. That'd be good to get Bernard on. And we'll all catch up and have a chat. But I'm beat and knackered. I really need to close this down. I'm up early tomorrow. It's 11:11 again, 23:23.
Yeah, I say thank you for tonight too, and it's been and I had my 45 minutes in fame here when I was the only one on video here.
Who was the only one? What? Sorry.
On video here, you know, you wasn't up, nobody else was up, so it was just my photo.
You said that you wanted to have some recognition as well, yeah, with somebody in your family that didn't believe you did what you did. So I left it on speaker mode, and it stuck for some reason. As people speak, it should change instead of having the gallery view. So when Simon's camera wasn't on, Claire had gone, I wasn't speaking, so it glitched on you. But that's not a bad thing, brother. You can use that to your advantage, I'm sure. And we love you lots, Anders. You're a legend.
I appreciate it, and I say good night here, and thank you for everything. And don't forget to show up at the Wednesday's voice chat. That's really important. If you want to know the latest from splspro, you come there. Take care, Simon. Lovely to hear your story there. And I love you all from the bottom of my heart. And I had a quarter bottle of rum now, so I'm lovely. Take care. Bye.
Sound Anders.
You want to say anything closing down? I'll let you have the last word, Simon, and then we're gonna close it down, brother.
Yeah, just to all the people, as I said, watching, like, even if they're going looking, if there's some people just starting into this, it's just to keep it simple. As I said, don't waste all your time watching months or a year or two of videos about speculation. You know, keep it simple, you know. As I said, if I had to start again, all I look into was trust and estate and getting your own house in order, you know. And once you do that, as I said, you'll build confidence from there, you know. Don't be looking, as I said, at all these people in the common law court and all that crap. You know, common law is running the whole time, you know. It's a big joke, you know. And the people, as I said, on the top at the system are just waiting for this, you know. As I said, I know there's been letters sent, and I have it on good authority that they received a letter, as I said, a few judges, and they were reading it, and they were in stitches. You know, so they're just going to steamroll loads of the people that come in with any of that crap, even their IDs and all this stuff. It's like, not going to work. Not going to work.
Yeah, we will echo that. We have been echoing that. There's videos on Indi Glow. I'm going to just say that there'll be links for those of you that are not familiar. I'll put the links into the video description at the end, where you can come find us and have a chat with us on the public or private domains, as is your choosing. Educational, Trust, Facebook, Telegram, and Tube. Every time
it's just looked at as a protest group, David. You know. It's just looked at it like it's a protest group, you know.
Yeah.
And there's like thousands of people in Australia now that have put their faith in this common law court, and for various things, as if it's going to change their government and all that. But it's just a waste of time, you know.
Yeah, sustained, brother. Agreed. And it's great to have you on with others to follow the narrative, and man's waking up to the fallacy that's been put out there, and
Yeah, I'd say just
unsubstantiated
keep
claims.
it simple and turn over a new leaf for anyone, you know. With lots of their stuff, that's the easiest thing to do for them, is start fresh with anything they can. Learn from their experience, you know, and just think, well, I can help someone else, save them that happening to them, but I just need to, it's better for myself and everyone else to move on, you know. Start fresh.
And I shall respond to all the comments and on the video that you've given me. I'm somewhat behind. I'll catch up tomorrow. I've seen the notifications, but I've had my head in other places. So yeah, thank you all, and keep the comments, interaction coming. You know where to find us, and bless up. We'll end it there then on a good note. All right, Si, fam, room, scribes. Let's do this. And we'll speak soon, Simon, on the chat. All right, we'll stay in touch as we are. You're welcome back anytime. He's gone. Ciao, bello.